I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championships.
The rivalries, it's up there on top of the list, man. And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. And welcome into Juck on Bucks. I appreciate you so much for joining me on a Thursday morning. Every once in a while, I sit in this chair and I have a really difficult time putting the words that are in my brain out of my mouth. Today's one of those days. So it's a good thing that I happen to have my good buddy Kris Drew on to talk to me today. We haven't caught up in a while. We had a good hour-long conversation about all things Buckeye, also some of the competition, a little bit of Ducks, a little bit of Oregon, a little bit of Michigan, all over the board for Kris and I today. But before I get into that, tonight, Ohio State goes for 10 years in a row with a first-round draft pick. Ohio State, the most first-round draft picks than any other college in the history of the university world. The university world? You see what I'm saying? It's one of those days. Ohio State with the third most draft picks in the history of the draft, which started in 1936. USC and Notre Dame first and second, and they have flip-flopped that in recent years. We'll catch them eventually. It's USC and Notre Dame we're talking about here. But going for 10 years in a row, going for the draft record is 15. Ohio State with the most draft picks of anybody since 2000. Just total domination from the Buckeyes, both on the field, on the draft, in the NFL, everywhere. The Scarlet and Gray rule. And whether you're a fan of the Bengals, the mighty Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, or someone else, everybody here agrees our NFL team would be much better off if they took more Buckeyes. Am I right? You know I am. Anyway, let's hop right into that conversation with me and Kris. And joining us again today, my good buddy Kris Drew. Kris, it's been a while. Thanks for popping on Juck on Bucks and talking to us today.
It's been too long, man. I've missed you.
Man, we haven't talked about Nico, the draft, spring, anything. Matter of fact, let's start here. The draft starts tonight.
Yes.
Buckeyes going for the record, that record at 15 guys. Coming into the season, though, if we were talking about Quinshon, Travion, and talking about their draft stock, what would you have said regarding those two? Who's the more desirable NFL prospect?
So I always thought Q was running back one. I thought he was going to be running back one heading into this year for a couple reasons. One, he's younger. I know it feels like he's been around college football for longer, but he hasn't. He just finished his third year, so this is his first draft eligible year. The second part of it, I feel like he was always a more complete running back. Like as a freshman, I know he's not as explosive as Trey. He got caught from behind a lot, but I feel like the things that translated were like the footwork, the vision. I mean, all of us as Ohio State fans got really frustrated with Trey freshman, sophomore year running to the backs of people just because it was about running as fast as possible instead of letting things develop. So I thought he was the guy. But this last year, like I felt like Trey, I mean, honestly, made a pretty significant leap the right way. And I think the biggest thing for him is A, pass blocking wise, he's so incredible. B, he can catch the football out of the backfield and can be the security blanket and the home run. People know how I love that. And then C, he made it through the year without injury. Like that was like the big thing. It's like, can you check these boxes? Because I know you're incredibly talented. I still probably prefer Q in terms of like NFL game wise, but I think this is, I mean, essentially like Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs to kind of a lesser degree, but like that's how I view them entering this draft.
You think Q is going to get drafted first?
I thought that up until I've been feeling around and seeing that the Chiefs are absolutely in love with Travion Henderson and that they keep scheduling calls with him. And so him at the bottom of the first just makes too much sense, right? Like him there makes too much sense. So
I don't like the Chiefs.
Until that.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, him, Mahomes. I mean, it'd be a winner. Like we get to see a running back win a lot. And,
right.
If you're any skill player, like, wouldn't you want to get drafted to a team that has a guy who's got a GOAT bid budding, I guess, in the future, and Pat Mahomes? Like you're gonna be good in the playoffs for the next 5-6 years. Like that's gotta feel nice.
Absolutely. The most recent mock draft I saw from Dane Bugler had 15 Buckeyes taken, which I think most of us feel is that's kind of the over-under right there, is at 15. He had Jack in the third round, JT in the late second, I think. That would really disappoint me. Is that how you feel that's going to go for the two of them?
No, that's way too low. I think if you just solely look at production for a 4-year pocket, you could maybe get there. I know like Jack wasn't like an eye-popping athlete because we didn't get to see a 40 time, but like all the traits are there, and he projects as a guy that's honestly probably going to be between 8 and 10 sacks for like 5 years. I know people are going to talk about, oh, well, the sack numbers were so down. Well, they picked up when they played the really good teams that tried to throw the football, right? Like they picked
Mhm.
up when teams weren't trying to focus on quick game. And the NFL is so much like, look, like I pay my left tackle and my right tackle so much money, so I'm not going to throw quick game for an entire year. And that's why you see guys, record the 4 or 5 sack days in the NFL, because you're not dealing with a talent gap. You're dealing with, look, my
Right.
tackles should be able to block your defensive ends. If not, why am I paying him? Because I don't want to limit my passing attack because he can't block. So, I mean, you're going to see a world. Here we go. I think he's a better prospect and going to be a better player than Sam Hubbard.
Okay. Okay.
And so, like, if I just use, and I like Sam Hubbard a lot, I think Sam Hubbard
Yeah.
was a really good pro. If you use that metric in and of itself, someone's going to feel like, okay, this is just a second round pick. I can't afford to get it wrong. Maybe my job's on the line, and I know I can draft this kid and not worry about this young man and not worry about drafting another defensive end for the next 2 years. And that's got to feel good.
Yeah, no doubt. He's definitely out of this crew of guys that look, I like a lot of them, but him and Cody Simon, those are the two I'm really like pulling for the most as we follow these guys through their NFL journey and through the draft tonight. Speaking of tonight, though, specifically, the Buckeyes' third most picks of all time, the most since 2009 straight years with a first round draft pick. Does that continue tonight?
Yeah, I think it continues. I think the first, I guess I've been having an internal debate in my head about who's like the first off the board. I think if everybody was healthy, I think Simmons would have a shot to be the first off the board, because I thought he was like really about to kind of reach the peak of like draft silly season if he would have been healthy. But
Mhm.
Emeka is going to be a first rounder. Like in a receiver class that's not super strong, he's the guy with the highest floor. I mean, again, like the same way I talk about Jack Sawyer, you draft him and you know that you're going to have a solid piece for the next X amount of years. I mean, that's
No
what Emeka
doubt.
is. I mean, I think his ceiling is Amon-Ra. I think his floor might be DJ Moore. Like he's steady, he's sure-handed, he works and operates like a pro. And I always like to do the thing that's like, if I'm unsure about two prospects from two different schools, I'm going to pick the kid that went to the school that's had the most success at that position. Emeka is going to be a first rounder and keep the streak alive.
Man, I hope so. I'll be salty if that dude drops out of the first. I mean, that is
Same.
just a
Same.
Class A individual. You'd be a fool to pass him up late in the first round. But when we look at the all-time draft record of 15, which I don't think the Buckeyes are going to break, I'm starting to lean towards I don't think they're going to tie. Not because I don't think there are 15 guys, but just because every year I go into this thing and it's usually always one or two less than I anticipate.
Yeah.
But hopefully they can tie it. If not, pretty sure they're going to get to 12. And when they do that, they will now have owned 3 of the top 7 draft classes out of one school in one class, which is absurd. That's 1 for Bama, 1 for LSU, 1 for Georgia, 1 for Michigan, 3 for Ohio State. That's just crazy levels of dominance. 3 national championship teams obviously represented in those 3 classes. I think that's so impressive and not really being talked about a whole lot.
No, super impressive. And I used to hate it because like when this would come up and you would see like the graphics, it'd be like, oh, look, Ohio State's doing the least with the most. But now we got a natty. So now that can't be floated out there. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think it'll be 15. I mean, I always overrate the fringe guys. Like I always tell myself, oh, like so and so's gonna get drafted in the 7th, and then that never happens. Oh, so and so's like a 5th rounder. That never happens.
Right.
And I think that we might have a couple of those. I mean, I just don't see G. Scott getting drafted, and I don't see Josh Fry getting drafted. And you need both of those guys to get drafted to get to the 15. So
yeah,
I agree with you, and it'll be nice. And like winning a natty and having the most kids drafted, young men drafted in a single season, man, you'll absolutely take that, and that should again continue to work marvels for the recruiting pitch that Ohio State could roll out if they wanted to.
Without a doubt. And when we look at those 3 drafts, those 3 national championship teams, the difference, the 02 team was the 04 draft, and the 14 team was the 16 draft. They were juniors. In 2024, we enter the season, and we've not got one of those returning bulk of the crew that won the national championship teams. We've got a classic turnover team, and I love these teams. They're so much more exciting. We got so much, so many new pieces coming on, and the anticipation of it all. When we look at the years of those other drafts where Ohio State had those guys coming back after the national championship. This year, nobody. But going back to 04, after they lost all those pieces, in that 04 season, that was an 8-4 season that resulted in an Alamo Bowl. It was a very exciting Alamo Bowl. I liked it a lot, but not a great season. In 2016, 11-2, and that was the 31-0 loss to Clemson that made you hate Clemson as a teenager that year. So the track record after they have these huge classes drafted, not great. Right now, I feel much better about this team than I felt about either of those two. It just feels different to me. How are you feeling about this team as we enter it following spring? And I want to get into some more about spring after that.
Do you know why I think it feels different, Juck?
Why?
Because some of those other teams, when they lost all that, the next team was very young. This team isn't really that young. They're just inexperienced. Like the quote unquote young guys that are going to get their first crack at things because everybody was so old on this national title team, from like 4th and 5th year guys. Like we're considering Kenyatta Jackson like a young guy. He's a junior. Like Caden Curry, a young guy, he's a junior. So it's like you don't feel like you're gonna have to like start like the little baby deer and like send the baby deer out there to go play, because even though they're inexperienced, they're not exactly young, and they've been around this program for 2 years, and a lot of them probably could have or should have played on last year's national championship team, and I'm not sure that's the same for those other years. So
I think it's a great point.
That's probably why it feels a little bit different.
You know what else? I feel like, and I'd have to go back and look, but when we look around the landscape of college football this year, the biggest competition is all in the same spot. Oregon, Georgia, Texas, these are the top contenders. They're all like the same with all the turnover, ranked in the hundreds in returning production. And it's not just about how good you are, it's about how good the field is.
Right.
So getting into this team, our guy Sam on college football has been telling Buckeye fans we need to chill on talking about how good this offensive line is going to be. He thinks Carson Hinsman, Luke Montgomery, Tegra Shabola, all very average. Nobody has any idea how Austin's going to be, if he is in fact the guy at right tackle, which that whole story is just kind of mind-blowing. I think that's the biggest surprise of the spring, is the potential.
No one's talking about. Like your in-depth review of the spring game was the only person that really went in, like really talked about that.
Oh, that was crazy, man. I thought they were just, cross-training him, and no, this guy might be the starting right tackle here. It just blows my mind. But if Sam's right, and that's the case, even if Ethan Anyanwa is as good as Josh Simmons, if all those other guys are average to below average, it's not going to be a great line. How you feeling about it? I still feel really good about this offensive line. Like, I think it's going to be a strong line.
Dude, I guess like maybe I'm super high on Hinsman and Montgomery. I saw Hinsman add the arm bar, the little bar in the middle of his and just turn into a monster. Like, what do I talk about? I want the guys that have creases and dirt on the shoes and like eat raw meat. He had the bar thing and became a road grader. Like that quiet kid from Wisconsin became a road grader. And I guess like the only way I would sit back and think like, oh, like Carson Hinsman is average is if I took his collective I guess experience and I had it as a flat playing field. It's like it looks like his progress is pretty linear. Like he's getting better, and the version we got at the end of the year last year I thought was a damn good player. And if he stays that level and doesn't get any better, I would absolutely take that in the interior of my offensive line. And Montgomery too is a road grader. And honestly, like, are they the best at all the pass sets? We don't know yet. We'll find out in due time. But with Bowen here and with kind of the run game that could be presented, I like a lot of power, a lot of gap stuff. Like I like the interior of this offensive line a lot. My worry is the tackle spots, but I also don't think Josh Fryer was elite last year. I just thought Josh Fryer was okay, and that's why he won't get drafted. And so if you're telling, like, it's one thing to have to go replace Paris Johnson Jr. and DeJuan Jones. Those are two NFL guys. Like we're going to have to replace one NFL guy, and then another guy we just need to play at a C level for that other tackle spot. So I don't really have too big of a concern about the offensive line. And there's also not one crazy dominant defensive line that worries me out there in the universe. And I know that those teams probably feel the same way, because Texas basically told us all they don't have a dominant defensive line because they wouldn't added the whole world in the portal. So I like where this offensive line is. Week one is going to be a real test, but I'm not I'm not going into this season worrying about the offensive line as much as I did last year, believe it or not.
So I'm totally with you with Luke and Carson and the improvement with like that game Carson had against Penn State. His first big time back. Granted, he was playing guard. I think he's better at guard than at center.
I do too.
It was his first big game back. Like it was the best guard for performance we've seen in a long time. It was just like he looked like he was just
like it's
dominating.
Since Wyatt Davis was running through the Big Ten looking like an all Big Ten Decade Player of the Year. That's against a really good team.
Yeah. And then when we talk about Luke Montgomery, like Luke showed out in the playoffs. That's the thing. We saw these interior guys go against great teams and the offense rolled. And you can say, scheme around them, this, that, man. At the point of attack, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
If you're getting beat up front, you can't scheme around it too much. It's going to show up and you're going to suffer in other ways. Those dudes held it down. So I'm really confident about that.
And I want to add to those two dudes just real quick. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to cut you off real quick. Add to those two dudes. Those dudes essentially got a full extra half of a season against really good competition to get better. Like I always say that offensive line is about like reps together. These guys got an extra 1,000 or so reps together in bowl prep and practice in the meeting room and on the football field together because Ohio State got to play such a longer season than everybody else. Like that's huge for those guys. That's huge for young offensive linemen. That is so much additional time together. It's so much additional time. And it's not like additional time and then you're going and playing Akron. It's additional time. Then you're going out there against Tennessee, Oregon, Texas. I can't believe I threw shade at my own school. But that was what that was.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tyler Bowen. Look, this guy, we've not seen him coach the team out on the field for a single down yet. But everything about him just is screaming high-level, competent dude. Like the recruiting stuff has been sensational. The way he's gone about it, the way he's attacking the portal, like everything about it is like this guy understands his position and, listening to him talk, listening to the O-lineman talk, it's just like competence is oozing out of this.
Yeah.
But the talent acquisition from that standpoint, I'm already confident enough to say this guy will be the best recruiting offensive line coach at Ohio State in the modern era.
Low bar, but he's blown it away. you know what I'm saying? Low bar, he's blown it away though.
He is. He is, man.
He feels like a coach. First of all, he's done a great job recruiting wise. Like everyone I've talked to, I'm sure everyone you've talked to have talked about. Like he recruits kind of like a skill guy. I think it's really fascinating. He's got juice, and like listening to him talk and like seeing the Sam Greer video and like hearing how other coaches talk about him. Like it feels like he's going to be the captain of some war daddies, man. Like I feel like the war daddy unit's coming back at Ohio State next year. And I'll take the war daddies over technicians every day of the week, especially in college football.
Yeah. He's got head coach vibes to me, man, when he talks. That's a dude climbing the ladder. Been an OC already. Like he's got big time head coach vibes.
That's a fact.
Ryan Day has really been able to dial in exactly what he's looking for and then go and find those pieces. When we take stock of the hires that he's made, he's done a fantastic job. But I want to take stock of how we feel about each one of these units coming out of the spring so we can double back coming out of the preseason camp and see how we feel. Let's start with wide receivers, and we're going to go championship level room or not, right? It's wide receivers, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Bryson Rogers, Quincy, Mylan Graham is going to be amazing. Championship level room or not, Chris?
That's easy, Juck. That's championship level. I mean, that's the best. Like here we go. And I don't even like doing it. Like Jeremiah Smith is the most eye-popping specimen I've ever seen put on an Ohio State uniform. Like I don't know how to explain it. I'm like running out of words to talk about it. I've said it before. It feels like when I watched LeBron James as a rookie, and I'm just like enamored. I just like want to soak in every moment because I don't know when it's going to end. So best player in the country, championship level unit, absolutely. I think Carnell Tate, his numbers were way below what his talent level is. And Brandon Ennis is going to get his this year as kind of the slot guy. And Mylan Graham looks way too explosive to keep him off the field. So, yes, championship level. And I expect that we're going to be blowing some teams out in the middle part of the year and that we'll get to see some Quincy Porter too. So, yes, championship level.
Before I move on to the next group, I just want to say to your point about Jeremiah. Now, my standard for that used to be Eddie George. Like, Eddie was Superman to me, right?
Yeah.
And I was a younger guy, but I think Jeremiah's superseded that now. Just like the look of him, the attitude, everything about it is just like that's peak athlete. That's peak Ohio State athlete right there. He's everything. Moving on to tight ends, you bring in Max Clare. We both feel a guy capable of winning the Mackey. You got Jelani Thurman, who looks like he actually might be taking that leap we've been hoping for so long. It feels like, but really it hasn't been that long. He's probably right on pace, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We just hoped he would get there early. You got Will Kazmarek and Christian Bennett Christian. I can never say that guy's name right.
Works both ways.
You know, a couple of so does yours.
True, Chris. Yeah, I'm with it.
And then you got a couple of meatheads. Nate Roberts looks really good. Tight end room, championship level or not?
I think championship level. I think they're not quite like as championship level as the Ohio State receiver room, but the Ohio State receiver room is like, it's like if an A is 90%, the receiver room is like 106%. Like, this tight end room is like probably 91%. It's like an A minus. I like Max Clare a lot. I am teetering though with Jelani Thurman. I don't know if I should fall forward and jump all the way in and tell myself we've got Black Gronk, or if I should roll with the prove it route. And as a recruiting highlight guy, I've never been the prove it route. I've been like, I'm in. I'm here. Like, I got it. He caught a football over the spring. He looks more muscled up. A tight end told me he was the most talented in the room. Like, usually I'm that. And I'm trying not to fall for it. I'm trying to learn my lesson. But I am sitting here thinking like, if we get Jelani Thurman the ball in space as much as we got G. Scott and as much as we got Cade Stover the ball in space, he is going to do some serious damage. And then the person I keep going back to is like Thaddeus Moss on that LSU team.
Yeah.
Like, that kid ended up in so much space and was such like a big, talented athlete that he made a lot happen because you couldn't afford to key in on him. You couldn't. And they knew that. And so instead of them trotting out a primarily blocking tight end for all those reps, they were like, well, we're just going to put Thaddeus out there because they're worried about Jamar Chase. They're worried about Justin Jefferson. They're worried about Marshall. Like, so we're going to get a fourth best matchup. And if he can just block a little bit, you can't afford to put a nickel on him or else he'll bury one into the ground for the run game. So I'm like trying to slow my roll with Jelani Thurman, but it was so nice to see him catch the football in the spring game and then take the big strides to start. To me, that's important.
It is. And I think the way we heard Keenan talk about him was even a little different. And I think that's important because I think he's very transparent. I think that's one thing about him. He's always telling you exactly what it is. Running backs, CJ Donaldson, James Peoples, Bo Jackson, which I could go on about him. Matter of fact, I said it the other day, dude. When you look at CJ Donaldson, he looks way better than he did at West Virginia.
Yeah.
He looks, obviously he's lost the weight. He looks quicker. He looks faster, but you look at him and the first thing you think is, for a big guy, that dude's moving fast. He's moving great. He's 225. Bo Jackson, the day of that spring game, was 218 pounds. He's going to play the season at 220. This is not much smaller of a guy, but when you look at him run, big guy ain't the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, whoa, he's fast. He's creating when it's not there. He's hard to bring down, shifty. Like, he's got it all. James Peoples is obviously, I think, pretty damn good. Really skilled back. I don't think Bo's getting kept off the field. I don't think he's getting James Peoples' role last year. I'll put it that way.
Bo's a freak, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it, and I would like to take this opportunity to apologize because I thought that Marquise was better than him. I liked Marquise.
I did too.
The prospect better than him.
I was with you.
He was wiry. He kind of moved like Curtis Samuel sometimes. He had great contact balance. I just felt like I saw the vision, but then seeing Bo out there, I'm like, yo, like this feels like a kid that should have been a 5-star running back.
It does.
Like for him, and also like he changed his body a lot for someone that was dealing with a lot of injuries before in high school. So I'm like sitting back like, yo, like this is going to be one of those cases where if he gets some touches early in the year and has some success, we could see him play a lot more down the stretch. Like I was honestly like, that to me was the biggest surprise of the spring game.
Okay.
I was like, he looks like he's been here for 2 years too.
100% with you here. I think as the season goes on, he's eating somebody's carries. And I think that Locke told on himself when he was talking about him too. He couldn't hold back.
He
He
did,
could not
and
hold back.
you were supposed to bring it up and amplify it. I'm just kidding. He told on himself.
Yeah, he really did. So when we look at this room with Donaldson, who I think is going to be pretty damn good now. I didn't have high hopes when they first brought him in, but after watching him and the body changes, the attitude, looks like he really fits in with everybody. I think he's going to be pretty damn good. I'm a believer in James Peoples. I don't think he is JK, but I think he's, a lot of people make that comp. I can see where they're going with it, but I don't think he's quite that quick like a hiccup kind of back, but he's going to be very good. And with Bo, you got a great top three. After that, if you get an injury and you got to go any deeper, Sam Williams-Dixon, I think, showed himself pretty well in that spring game, but just as a talent, I don't think he's quite Ohio State standard. Isaiah West, we haven't seen yet. He's not even put the pads on. I think he is, but we'll see how it goes. But as a room, I would give it the championship caliber level room. How do you judge it?
I'm not there yet. I like CJ Donaldson now more than I did before. I think they're a B unit right now instead of an A unit, and an A is what I'm calling championship caliber. I'm a step below, but I'm like that teacher that wants the kid to do the extra credit so I can give him the A. Like, that's what I am right now. That's how I feel. And honestly, like, if I had seen more from the other backs, I would be like stamped and in on it. Just the simple fact they're going into the season with one guy that's really had extended college carries, because like Peoples, we saw him at moments and it was like, oh shoot, like what, like I like how that looks. Like Downhay did the same thing for me, and then we saw kind of what Down was with extended carries. So it's different when you're a running back and you're going in there when teams are fresh the whole year. So for me, I like the running back unit, and I like Coach Locke a lot. I think Locke and Bo are perfect for each other. But I'm just below championship level. I do want to ask you, to kick it back to you, who's your RB 1 and 2? Like, who do you think is going to get the first carry of the year?
I feel like there's a slight lean towards Donaldson right now. That's just the feel I got for it, even though it didn't really People's barely played in the spring game, and everybody's like, well, there you go. That's your evidence. Could not be. I feel like it's leaning towards Donaldson right now.
Okay.
And
I felt like they were putting Peoples maybe on a pitch count, and that's why I was leaning that way. But I don't know. Like I haven't talked to Locke. I haven't really talked to that many people about the running back room. But no, I don't follow you for that.
This is like a coin flip right here. It might be totally even Steven, but it just kind of made me feel that way when he was talking, like he was doing his best to push back on he's not giving Peoples anything and he's got to earn it. Yeah. And I could be reading that all wrong, but I don't know. There might be a little something there to some fumble issues that have gone on, slight immaturity that have gone on, or some rumors and stuff. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm leaning with Donaldson here. And I think that either way, they're both pretty damn solid backs. Love Bo. Do want to shout out TC Caffey while we're on the backs, who entered the transfer portal. Ohio kid, dealt with injuries, been an awesome teammate. Everybody loved him. He's really talented. I think he's going to go and put up some good film somewhere. So best of luck to TC Caffey.
He's got a 100-yard game in his career at Ohio State. It's tough to do. So no, he can play, dude. I think he can play lower end Power 5 or MAC. And honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up somewhere playing some good ball. Like, he can play.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, to the safeties. We'll hit the quarterbacks last. Safeties, you got Caleb Downs. You got Jalen McClain, Malik Harford. Dude, you know what Malik reminds me? He's one of those guys that's going to make those just Lathan Ransom style hits, get you fired up. But then he's also going to throw in the bonehead play every now and again and just, that kind of dude. Because he can light you up, or he can not wrap and let you bounce right off of him. But all in all, when you've got the number one player on the defensive side of the ball in the group, it's a championship level room to me.
No, I agree. I think Malik Harford also has almost athletic arrogance. Like, you see him do some things, it's like, oh my God, like, you were not supposed to get there. And then to get there and hit him like that. And then because of that, sometimes I feel like attention to detail isn't really something that he's been forced to do. And so when you ask him to think sometimes, then you get the slowdown on kind of everything's clock. So he's it's a weird balance, because you're right, some bonehead plays, but then when it's on and he's just not out there thinking and playing, it's like, yo, who is that?
he looks really good, and he's so much size since he first came. He was a string bean, man. He looks big now.
And like I love guys who are able to hit when they're string beans. Like when you're a little skinny guy in the state of Ohio, like and you can hit, I'm like, yo, I love that, because then when you add that extra weight, you got a little extra weight to carry, and you hit somebody, they already fell you before, they're gonna feel you a little bit more. So I think he's gonna win that second safety spot. I don't know where you're at, but yes, I'll give it championship caliber as well.
It sure seems like he's got the lead right now.
I thought McLean overtook him last year. Like
me
I thought
too.
McLean was the next guy, and so
I came into spring 100% McLean all the way. But I hadn't seen what he had done behind the scenes there to get himself some Hartford. What he'd done behind the scenes. He's so much bigger and stronger, and he's always had that freaky athleticism. But McLean, I think that's a future NFL dude too. Like I think we're in really good shape there with those two.
And he can also hit, man. I saw him knock out of practice, man. He's a thumper too. And I like that everybody in my safety room has like a certain level of attitude. And I hope that there is at least some level of like strikes fear to test those guys. They can all hit. And I'm curious to see like what kind of role they want Caleb Downs to play. Is it more in the box role, or do you want him to be the center fielder? Because if you want Caleb to be the center fielder, I think Malik Hartford makes way too much sense as the second guy, because he's got less center field than McLean, in my opinion. But I think he's a guy with that much size now can really hold up in the run game at a more effective rate, because he's not just like relying on his speed to power. Like he's just strong and can really hit dudes.
Yeah, you're right. He could borderline linebacker looking right now at that size.
And McLean feels more like center fielder, like sideline to sideline.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good point.
Of a hitter downhill as Malik. So if it's like strictly let me replace Lathan Ransom, I would lean Malik Hartford. But I am curious because, and honestly, like Caleb Downs might have so many hats, so many roles, and the Matt Patricia might want to play both of them. So
yeah, and I probably think that I'm kind of hoping that's where we're leaning. I feel a lot more variation coming with this defense with Patricia. Yeah. Moving on to the corners, I think we both thought last year Jermaine was your best cover corner. Speaking of attitude, him and IGB, that's a whole lot of attitude, which I love from our corners. Coming up behind them, obviously Devin, I think they did as best they could to try to tamp down what was going on this spring with Devin, but he pretty much blew everybody away. Then Aaron Scott, you're a big Bryce West guy. They got him in the nickel now. I thought I was going to like that more than I thought I liked it when I watched it.
It's like kombucha, dude. I don't know if I like it or not, man. Like I'll keep drinking it. I just don't know. I just don't know if I like it.
I think he's going to be a great outside corner. I don't know if I like him in there. I don't know. I don't know if he's the right fit there, but we'll see, man. Lorenzo, I think looks a lot better. I think he looks much more natural as time's gone on now. And I think that was the one spot that a lot of people were hoping that the presumed starter, Lorenzo, was going to get pushed by somebody really hard. Yeah. So I was with you. And I think, a lot of people were with us on that, not really believing in him, but I've come around. I'm starting to feel much better about him in that spot. Excuse me. But all in all, I think it is a championship level room.
I agree. I mean, I think like you have a guy who can challenge for the Thorpe Award. I think you can have a guy that challenged for the Thorpe Award and he'd have to challenge Caleb Downs. So like, I love Jermaine Matthews outside. I would not be shocked if like you see that PFF or whatever graphic at the end of the year hasn't given up a single touchdown all season. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see that from Jermaine Matthews. It's funny because I think maybe the weakest outside corner is IGB, but I would you love him as your weakest corner because he's still a damn good player.
Without a doubt, man.
The grabbing is a little frustrating at times, but I always tell people, well, at least he's close enough to grab because, we remember a world where Seven Banks wasn't close enough to grab, and I don't ever want to go back there. So, no, I like the unit a lot. I am curious to see how much Devin plays this year. I'm curious to see how much Bryce West plays this year. And I'm curious where Aaron Scott falls in all this because I know a lot of people felt like Aaron Scott was the better of the two coming in. I always felt like Bryce West was a little better. And
you have always said that. There are some people saying that now. I'm reinforcing. You have always said that. I'm vouching for Chris on that.
I've always believed that, and I think right now Bryce West has more positional versatility too. Like I don't know if I absolutely love him at nickel, but I know like if we're in a pinch and we need him to play nickel, he can do that. I also know if we're in a pinch, we need to play outside. We've got him and Devin Sanchez that can hold it down, kind of based on the physical profile of the receiver that you're playing, because they're both pretty sticky. So I feel really good about the corner room. It's nice knowing that we're at least 4 deep, probably 5 deep, and coin flip if we're 6 deep. So I'm excited about that unit for sure. Definitely championship caliber unit.
Championship caliber. All right, moving to the linebackers. You got Sonny looking more and more natural by the day. Just the way he moves about the position, the way he's kind of owning it. Love the way he look. Arvell, I think, is the best linebacker on this team, maybe in the country.
Yep.
That's how high I am on him. And Peyton Pierce, who was the recipient for the 2025 Arvell Reese Hype Machine Juck Award of the Spring. Absolutely looking like he's just blowing Laurinaitis away from how he's talking about him and saying he's going to play a lot this year. With those 3, then Riley Pettijohn, who clearly made a big impression on everybody, TJ Alford, Garrett Stover, and Eli Liebman. I love this room. I think this is absolutely a championship caliber room.
Really good room. You know, I didn't see like my alarms went off when I heard James Laurinaitis talking about Peyton Pierce.
Me too.
He didn't go absolutely bonkers in the spring game, but I'll say this: look, if he is really good at Mike linebacker, that unlocks probably the most dangerous person on this Ohio State defense. That's Arvell Reese. Like we've talked a lot about like CJ Hicks on the edge, about like Bo on the edge. But like if you can get a package where you feel really good about Peyton Pierce coming in and playing the mic, and you can let probably the best athlete on this defense go be the best athlete on the defense and unlock him and let him go be free, you are talking about a scary ceiling for a guy who's already a scary athlete, who really is supposed to be entering their sophomore year, not their junior year, because they got to Ohio State at 17. It just didn't get talked about because he wasn't a 5-star. Like, I think he's legit, like, going to be a top 20 pick.
No, I'm with you.
6'4" now?
Yeah.
I don't think people realize, even the people that are on the hype train with Ohio State and are on the hype train with Arvell Reese, I don't think they realize what they're looking at.
He's the dude your favorite dude talks about. Like that. Yeah. That's the kind of dude he is.
He's your favorite player's favorite player, dog.
Yeah.
And I just also love kind of the demeanor and Tegan Senior, Coach Senior, when he sat me down, he was like basically like, this is how I know recruiting services don't know anything, because he's one of the best kids we've seen come through here, and it's really not close. And it's like, well, like that means something, because when someone says, like, raves about how great a player is, and you're looking them eye to eye, and you look up, Juck, and you see a bunch of NFL helmets, chills.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yes, championship.
But this is what I was saying, the whole thing about the CJ Hicks move down, everybody getting all excited about that, about how Matt Patricia is going to use him. Like Matt Patricia, if he's going to design something to have somebody in that wicked role, it's Arvell that he's looking to try and get in that role. And
Peyton Pierce being good at the mic is going to allow that, right?
Exactly.
What you don't want to do is pull Arvell from that spot and like have a liability in there at the mic. By all accounts, it sounds like Peyton Pierce is like, knows, like, look, like they want to work with, they want to work with Arvell Reese, and that could open up a lane for me to play a lot early. And in a world where nobody thought I had a shot at surpassing Arvell, which I don't think he does, but I think he can be the okay, you're really good and you're good enough to go in, and us still feel like we have a really great 11 out here.
It's I think it's one of the more exciting things to watch as the season develops, how that goes.
That's what I'm most looking forward to on this defense. I am most looking forward to what they do with Arvell and what they do with Peyton Pierce. Like that is what Kris Drew, and the good year of 2025, I'm excited to see.
All right, so we have gotten to everything but defensive line and quarterback. These are the ones that most people have the most questions about. Obviously, with a first-time quarterback, you're always going to have huge questions. You don't know anything. I feel like with this particular year, it's even more than most, because we just didn't get to see anything of Julian last year. And I do, when I talk about this, I'm pretty much talking about him as the starter moving forward until anything changes. It makes me change my mind. But I just, I think he's the clear starter. And I feel a little better about it based on the spring game, just being able to visualize what the offense looks like with him in charge of it. Obviously the size is the big knock, but everything he did in that game just looked like a guy who was calm, making the right decisions, wasn't afraid to go downfield. The balls, the back shoulder throw to Milan, like everything was spot on, even when there was good coverage. It made me feel a lot better. So I'm on the train. I think that he's going to be a successful quarterback. I'm not going to say it's a championship level room. There's too much unknown. I think this one gets a no grade for me right now.
This is an NA for me as well. I'm excited about Julian Sayin because we're seeing a ball placement specialist in training, I think. And if he figures it out with the receiver unit, you could be looking up at some really scary numbers if he is 80% of the passer that he was rated to be, because he's got a more natural arm talent. He's got a quicker delivery than Will Howard. And it's really aesthetically pleasing to watch him throw the football. So it's naturally easy to get excited about him. And then it's really cool because it's wow, he looks like a sixth grader, but that ball is spinning. And so it gives a boy wonder feel to it if things are going good. Now, if things are going bad, it's the moment's too big for him kind of look. So I'm with you. No grade. But I'm excited about Julian Sayin, and I think Ohio State being really good up the middle is going to be, his best friend early. I think Max Clare being an up the middle guy, like a security blanket for him, is going to be huge. I think Brandon Ennis being a security blanket is going to be huge for him. And then ultimately, I think knowing that the whole defense is going to try to stop Jeremiah Smith. So at times when you don't want to try to fit that ball in there, there's a lot of other guys that are going to get one-on-one opportunities, and that's got to feel nice for him as long as he's seeing it. So do I worry about the size? Yeah, had a couple balls batted down in the spring game, no biggie. But I'm excited about him, but I wouldn't call it championship caliber, but he may not have to be, given the rest of this team, given how many C's we've given out so far.
Yeah. So, and to that point, I don't think you need every room to be championship caliber
Right.
to win a national championship either. But talking about the defensive line, much like quarterback, we've you turned over the entire defensive line. There was always going to be questions, but we know these guys. We know who they are outside of transfer Bo Atkinson, who may be joining the crew here. We should find out pretty soon. But the dudes in the middle, Edric, K-Mac, really like him. We've not seen him as starters. Relying on Caden McDonald to play 40-plus snaps in a game is something that gives me questions. I think Edric's ceiling, he's not even come close to it. And then Kenyatta, Curry, Logan George, CJ Hicks, potentially Bo. I've got a lot of questions about all these guys, to be honest. There's questions everywhere. Ultimately, I feel pretty good about those starters, though, the guys that are leading the pack. The interior of the defensive line, I think, just gives this one a no. This is not close to championship level. In my book, I feel like Ryan Day made it very clear. And when he's going to come out and say that, which he doesn't say things like that, both at the start of spring, the middle of spring, and then leaving spring, it's just not good enough. It's not where it needs to be.
I agree. I think that there's not one guy I can look at the defensive line and be like, oh yeah, he's going to be a first rounder. And I think when I can't do that, I have kind of an issue. I do think though Kenyatta could have more sacks in the regular season than JT and Jack had last year. So I think he's a more unique athlete in that regard with longer limbs. And I also think this is he views this as his money prove it year. So I worry the least about Kenyatta. I think that Edric Houston is going to be a superstar. It's just going to be about when. And then I have my concerns about K-Mac playing a lot of snaps. That's kind of my big concern, because if he's playing a lot of snaps and it's going really good. But if you're playing a lot of snaps, or you feel like you have to put him on a snap count, then that kind of makes you susceptible to body blows late in games. And that's the one thing that kind of terrifies me. Like when we had Jerron Cage out there, which I think K-Mac's way better than Jerron Cage. And those guys, it was okay, the defensive line would hold up. Then those body blows, because you're not deep enough and we got to keep guys on pitch counts, concerns me. And that's kind of how you lose championships. But fortunately, again, much like we talked about quarterback and the help that they'll get, I think that Arvell being able to rush the passer and kind of help them could be a huge deal in the long run for that unit and generate like TFLs. Because that's what you want. You want that unit to generate TFLs. And if he's a part of that, that would be huge because it's keeping teams, behind schedule. And, and if this corner unit is good, it's like, I just need this unit to be a good, really elite against the run, because against the pass, like, even if guys aren't getting home initially, like really quickly, you think that this secondary can cover. So I just worry about like stopping the run, not even getting sacks.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need all three levels of your most championship teams have one of those levels that is not, equal to the other two. And if that's the defensive line, that's probably the last one I'd want to be if I was drawing it up. But it is what it is. My biggest disappointment of the spring got to be Jason Moore. This is a guy at 6'6", 307, top 50 recruit. I thought in year 3, matter of fact, I thought last year he was going to pop, didn't play. And then this year, I'm just like, come on, man. Like you should be the dude right now. This shouldn't be a big worry right now because he should be that guy pushing for starter reps, to be honest. But him, Tywone Malone, neither of them looked like they were up to snuff at this point. And certainly we thought they were going to go get someone in the portal, and then Texas did what they did. It's like, I mean,
got everybody, dude, everybody playing keep away from Ohio State for that week 1 matchup is what it is.
Can you believe? Imagine having that much money that you can do that.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're playing keep away. They know, okay, our road to a championship is going to have to go through Georgia and through Ohio State. How about all the D linemen that they want? We just pay them double.
It's such a Texas-y kind of thing to do, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
I
feel bad for Hero.
Well, Hero he's got some time. He should hit the portal and come back.
It's crazy, dude. He's their number 3 nose tackle now. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing? But again, man, that's just. I wish they'd have acted with a little more hiccup in their step.
Sure.
Larry got off the phone with 3 guys, and they all said, "I talked to Coach Johnson. We talked about setting up a visit." And the very next day, I'm 5 dudes off the board. It's like, all right, man. Tyler Bowen, visits were set up immediately. These guys are all coming in tomorrow. But, what are you going to do? A lot of talk about Larry, man. A lot of talk. Some fair, some not fair. He's become the hot button issue of the spring for sure. What's your take?
We just won a national title, Juck.
Yeah.
Like, we just won a national title. Like the D line played really well. Like down the stretch, I keep telling Zach this. Like I feel like in that Texas game, we just bullied them. So I'm not going to be up in arms when I haven't really seen what this unit's done. And like at this point, the recruiting deficiencies are known by everybody on the staff. So if Ryan Day or if someone else has to step up. You know what kind of recruiter Larry is. I'm just exhausted and don't feel like rehash, because I feel like I have to rehash this Larry thing every single year. But by this point, like everyone should know the kind of recruiter he is. So this should be like no surprise. Is it frustrating? Super. I feel like sometimes he recruits in a way that he feels like he has a lot more time than he does.
For
in terms
sure.
of like how quickly these are being made. He almost recruits transfers like he recruits high school kids. Like, I want to see you in person. I want to see you play basketball. I want you to come in and do some work. And in the portal era, there's none of that. It's like cut on the tape, thumbs up, thumbs down, let's go. And I think that he is falling behind in the portal, especially because other defensive line coaches are operating like that.
I think he very much dislikes this, and I don't fault him for it. Like, we know how he is with these guys. He picks them out when they're 16, raises them essentially through their formative years till they're 22. Yeah. They're his guys. And you're telling him now you got 5 days to get to know somebody and bring him in to potentially this stranger come in and replace one of your guys. Like, I wouldn't like that. I get it. He's 72 years old.
And he's never recruited that way. He's always been a late cycle guy. He's never been quick.
So it just does not fit. This style of thing does not fit with him at all. And I get it, but that's where we're at. All right, let's get to a couple of the biggest competition. A quick take on Texas, Oregon, Georgia, and Michigan. Right now, Texas. I'm a believer in Arch. I think outside of Ohio State, Texas, the biggest threat to win the national championship this year. I like what they're going on. I'm a believer in Sark as well. I think it's a really, really formidable team despite what they've lost.
I do too. And it's been nice this offseason. I think that they might end up with the most talented team in the sport. I'm a big believer in Arch. And it's funny because the Dan Lanning honeymoon is ending as people are starting to look over it like, hey, Sark's got something really brewing, really special. And it's been a long time since we've seen the Texas Giant fully awake. Sark is holding 2 buckets of smelling salts, and he's been running past that nose. And at some point, they're going to stand up. And I'm very glad that Ohio State has been able to kind of like fully root themselves into we're prepared to go on a run of dominance too. We're also a giant, and we're also all the way awake before Texas got it going. I mean, I think that over the next 5 years with what Sark's building, it would not shock me at all if it was an Ohio State Texas thing the same way it was Georgia Bama for all those years. Now I know they're in different conferences, but this is Texas's, I guess. So what's going on at Texas this offseason is what went on at Ohio State last offseason. That's the expectation and air that they are entering, and they have the measuring stick very, very early in the season. I love what they've done. I think their defense is going to be top 3 in America. Now, I am a little bit concerned naturally with a lot of the turnover in the defensive line room, and they've had continuity offense, OC and DC wise when Ohio State hasn't. So they're in a fascinating place, and they're going to be really good. And people haven't talked about it. Nick Saban at SEC Media Day last year before the season said that CJ Baxter is the best running back in the SEC. The kid got hurt.
Final Four without him. Yeah.
He's back. And what do I say that a quarterback's best friend is? You got to be good up the middle. A running back is a young quarterback's best friend. They got him. I think Ryan Wingo is really talented. Obviously, probably the 3rd or 4th best receiver in that freshman class. He's going to get another shot. Colin Simmons on the D line. I mean, he won Freshman of the Year. Like, we're talking about a legit, like, in Star Wars when the Death Star was like almost complete, and they're asking like, is it operational? And they're like, no, they're still building it. And then that sucker blows up a planet. Like, they're really good. We just happen to have our own Death Star up here as well. We're just hoping the pilot, cough, cough, Julian Sayin, is good enough to push that button. So I'm high on Texas. Texas concerns me way more than Oregon. I thought if an Oregon team was going to do it, it's going to be last year's team. This year's team should be fascinating. They're going to be really good in the trenches. I think everybody in their defensive tackle room, they're all 3-year Oregon guys, and they're all 315 or higher. And that is, I think, a direct response to some of the bruises they had to suffer going through Ohio State there late in the year. So, no, I think it's Texas, Gap, Oregon.
I feel the same way. Texas, Gap, Oregon. But I do think there are a lot of people kind of discarding Oregon a little too much based on that Rose Bowl, which, that was just
why I'm discarding them? It has less to do with the Rose Bowl. I'm discarding them because I don't know if they can develop quarterbacks or they need them like Little Caesar's pizza, just hot, ready, made, and delivered. Like, I don't know.
So I'm interested in that. They are very, very confident. The Oregon fan base is about Dante Moore. I've got a lot of questions about it. I'm excited to see, to be honest. Does not strike me as having the same kind of accuracy based on what we've seen out of him so far as the guys that succeed in that system.
Yeah, and also, like, what was Oregon able to avoid all the last 3 years? They were able to avoid quarterbacks making young player mistakes.
Yeah.
Bo Nix played a ton of football. You were getting him in there, and it was like no young player mistakes, and they still didn't win a championship, but they were able to be so clean on offense. But Dylan Gabriel, a ton of football. You're talking about no young player mistakes. I'm interested to see how this team responds to having a quarterback out there that makes young quarterback mistakes, because that's a different feeling, and that could lose you a game in and of itself. I mean, Oregon was able to avoid losing like the weird game out there because their quarterback wasn't making young quarterback mistakes. Now, just like we saw Bama with their, lackluster quarterback play losing to Oklahoma, like just like we had seen young quarterbacks in the past, like sometimes those games don't go well. And it's like, what do you do with a quarterback that is young? And we as a program have never had to endure a quarterback who has not played a ton of football going out there and not having it on that day.
It's a great point. It's a great point. They have needed
But here
that.
we go. Think about it even further. Like if Bo Nix didn't have it that day, he had played so much football that he knew he could carve out a different path to win or a different path for the offense to be efficient. If Dylan Gabriel wasn't crazy hot that day, he had played so much football, he had gone through what it was like to not have it that day and learn how to win another way. I think that's one of the more underrated things with quarterbacks. And I don't know if Dan Lanning, the personality, can take that because the way he empowers his offensive coordinator to be super, super aggressive, he knows that, I got a lot of trust in my quarterback because he's played a ton of football. So if we go balls to the wall, I know he's not going to make that one fatal mistake. Well, guess who will make a fatal mistake? It's the kid who hasn't played a ton of football.
Certainly, we've seen Dante Moore make a lot of mistakes.
A ton.
Gunnar Stockton taking over at Georgia. I think he's got he's got better wide receivers to work with than they did last year. I think the running game is going to be a little bit better. I'm not a big believer in his. I don't know. It's very positive coming out of Georgia. I think the defense will be a little better as well. But there's no doubt that this program they're no longer in this slight tier to themselves here. They've clearly dropped down. I don't think the arrow is pointing back up in that direction. Like they're in with this pack now permanently. I think a lot of people thought maybe that might be a blip year where they were just down and they were going to pop right back to monster Death Star Georgia levels. I don't feel it's like that. So while they're one of the favorites this year, I don't fear them one bit.
It's fascinating because me not fearing them might make me fear them. I think Georgia has to operate in a world where they have a chip on their shoulder. Last year, they had no chip on their shoulder. People thought they were going to win the whole thing. And I don't think that goes well. And I think that because I think Kirby has made that such a crutch in his program that there are cracks in the foundation that nobody wants to talk about. Because like Georgia players and Georgia on the field, Georgia's quarterback this last year, Carson Beck, they all operate like they already won a natty. They operate like they were a championship level team already. Like they operate like they won a ring and they got nothing left to prove. They operate kind of like, not quite. I was gonna say 2015 Ohio State, but we didn't have like the driving issues. They operate with like an air of arrogance, and I don't think Kirby, the coach, knows what to do with that. Like I think they need to be chasing Nick Saban, and there's something to that. Like it's like NBA terms. It's like they said Michael Jordan hung it up because he couldn't, there was no rivalry for him to go chase when like Bird and Larry had each other. I wonder if the messaging and the chip on the shoulder is gone when it comes to Georgia, because they have honestly, as soon as Nick Saban retired, they were anointed and crowned as the team in college football, and they don't scare me at all. I mean, their quarterback just left.
Yeah. I mean, you know what else? There is only so long I think a guy can maintain the competition at this level. And Kirby's starting to just get this worn down feel to me. The dude's aged like 10 years in the last 3 years, it looks like to me too.
Well, because how do I get these kids back on track, man? Like, how do I get back to winning?
Lie to them and tell them everybody's doubting them when they're undefeated.
Like they're gonna have to launch like a fake sports network that airs 24/7 just dissing Georgia for them to get it back. And it's like, if you can only win like that, good luck, because you can't be the underdog every year. It was impressive that you were able to pull it off back-to-back years. The only reason you were able to pull it off back-to-back years is because you lost so many to the draft. But no one's checking on you this year, so we'll see.
Final one, KD, Michigan. If I'm Sharon Moore, like there is no question, I'm starting Bryce Underwood. I don't think I'm as good as Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Illinois, maybe even USC. I don't care if I got to take another 2 L's starting this kid and getting him his reps when next year I've got a really talented class now as sophomores and I can actually make that next step. I'm getting him that full year. Like, and by the way, I'm a big believer in Bryce Underwood. Like, I think he's going to be legit. I like his attitude. I like the way he carries himself. So that's my play. But ultimately, I don't think this is a team that's going to contend for the Big Ten at all.
There is nothing wrong with the DJ Lagway Florida route. There's nothing wrong with the Nebraska Rayola route. If you know you're not competing for something, get your young guys as much as possible. And honestly, like that probably gives you your best shot to keep your goal alive at the end of the year. If you're not going to win the title, it's to beat Ohio State. What gives you the best shot? Getting Bryce Underwood better and better and better. No, they'll be good in 26. They won't be good this year.
Yeah. All right, brother. I appreciate you so much. Right at an hour as my notes end. You're the
Beautiful.
man. Have a great night, buddy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later. And thank you to my buddy Chris for joining me. Chris kind of been like my mentor in all this. I've gone to him for help since I first started. Always has helped me out tremendously. Told me today, I think you're getting a little better at this. It's a good day. It's a good day. Appreciate you all so much for joining me. Tonight for the NFL draft, I will be on live with my buddy over at the College Football Express. I'll share that on my YouTube page if anyone wants to come and hop in while you're watching the draft and listen to us kind of cut it up over the college players we like as it pertains to the draft. I don't know what direction he wants to go in, but he wants to have me on, so I'll go on like I always do, and we'll have some fun. So I'll see you at 7 there. If not, I'll talk to you tomorrow here. We got a lot of news to go over, including a recap of that first round and some recruiting news we got to get into. A whammy to our buddy Brady Edmonds that I am salty about. I'm so mad I don't even want to talk about it now, but I'll tell you guys all about it tomorrow. Talk to you then. Juck Bucks out.